Respected elders, honored citizens, and all my fellow seekers of greatness. I am Lakshay, a student of class 12th and the president of Ambition Intellectual Union. On this solemn occasion of 18th Independence Day of India, I stand before you not merely to commemorate a historic victory, but to confront a question of consequence. What have we made of the freedom that was entrusted to us? 80 years ago, India emerged from colonial subjugation and reclaimed the sovereignty to determine her own destiny. But independence was never intended to be the culmination of our national struggle. It was the commencement of our national renaissance. And therefore, patriotism demands more than celebration. It demands lucidity, the courage to recognize both the magnificence of our potential and the deficiencies that impede its realization. India possesses extraordinary human talent, a profound civilizational heritage, immense demographic strength, and an expanding technological capacity. Yet, our progress remains uneven. Corruption continues to erode public trust, complacency dulls ambition, and poverty deprives millions of the opportunities that should belong to every citizen. But beyond these visible deficiencies lies a deeper challenge: intellectual stagnation. Our generation has access to an unprecedented ocean of information, but information is not wisdom. The question is whether we shall merely consume knowledge or possess the intellect to transform it into understanding, and the character to transform understanding into action. That responsibility particularly falls upon the youth. We are not merely inheritors of India's future, we are its present architects. And no civilization can ascend through concrete alone. We require sophisticated infrastructure, highways, railways, ports, power systems, and cities capable of sustaining modern economic life. But the most consequential infrastructure of a nation is invisible. It is the human mind. Therefore, education must become the great equalizer of Indian society. A child in a remote village must possess the same opportunity to cultivate intellect as a child in our greatest metropolis. Education must transcend the tyranny of examination. It must teach us not merely what to think, but how to think. Preserve heritage without imprisoning us in antiquity, and produce citizens whose competence is matched by conscience. And when we speak of conscience, courage, and national determination, we must remember Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. Bose refused to regard India's liberation as an unattainable abstraction. He understood that freedom required organization, sacrifice, and strength. Through the Indian National Army, he transformed the aspirations for independence into an instrument of action. His immortal declaration, "Give me blood and I will give you freedom," was not merely an appeal for sacrifice, it was an assertion for national agency. India's destiny must never be dictated by another power. The principle remains relevant, though the battlefield has changed. Today, our struggle is against intellectual stagnation, economic deprivation. Our ancestors endured subjugation and exploitation. We must not allow their suffering to become an inheritance of resentment. We must transform historical memory into historical achievement. The past cannot be rewritten, but the future can be authored. And our answer to everything that once diminished India must neither bitterness nor nostalgia, it must be excellence. Excellence in our universities, institutions, industries, science, and above all, excellence in the character of our citizens. This, I believe, is the second liberation that our generation must undertake. The first liberated India from foreign political domination. The second must liberate her potential from ignorance, dependency, indifference, and the limitations we impose upon ourselves. We must transform our demographic strength into human capital, our intellect into innovation, and our innovation into prosperity of global consequence. I envision an India whose villages participates in progress rather than merely witnessing it, whose universities generate ideas of global consequence, whose scientists stands at the frontiers of discovery, whose technology is created as confidently as it is consumed, and whose prosperity is accompanied by dignity and opportunity. But such a transformation will not be bestowed upon us, it must be earned. It begins in classrooms where discipline is cultivated, in laboratories where curiosity becomes discovery, in institutions where integrity is non-negotiable, and in citizens who understand that nation building is not someone else's responsibility. Because the destiny of India is not only written on parliament, it is written wherever Indians chose competence or mediocrity, courage or indifference, and responsibility or convenience. So this 18th Independence Day, let us remember the distinction between the freedom we inherited and the generation we must create. The generation before us won our independence. Our generation must give that independence its full meaning. They broke the chains of political subjugation. We must break the limitation of its own imagination. They dreamed of an independent India. We must build an India worthy of that dream. Let us remember, rise not as spectators awaiting India's future, but as its architects. Let us cultivate knowledge. Let us demand excellence. Let us build infrastructure, institutions of integrity, and a civilization of confidence. Because 15 August 1947 was India's liberation. 15 August 2026 must be our declaration of India's rebirth. The freedom was won by the generations before us, but the greatness must be won by ours. Jai Hind!